Well, a question. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body, is it? You have a body, yes. You touch it, you feed it, you bathe it, you dress it. It is seen and felt and measured, but the you who knows all this, where is that you? When I say I, where is it? In the head? No. In the heart as an organ of flesh? No. In the chest, the hands, the feet? No. When I point here or there and say I, do I find it fixed under my finger? No, no. The body is experienced. The experiencer is not contained. I am not in the physical, the apostle puts it, absent from the body, present with the Lord. If I am present with the Lord, how shall I be boxed into inches and ounces? Now, why begin here? Not to spin another philosophy, not for the luxury of clever talk. We begin here because fear begins with a false center. If I accept that I am in the body, I must accept the body's perishability as my doom, its moods as my truth, its limits as my prison. Then I live under a tyrant. Pain commands, appetites dictate, years accuse. But if the I is the knower of the body and not a piece of it, the tyrant is dethroned. The body remains to be cared for, yes, but it is relieved of a role. It cannot bear the role of being me. Be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, you begin to see that the I, which knows, is not a thing known. Let us have a little Socratic honesty now. Where do you find yourself? Close your eyes, if you will, and say I. Now, where are you? Are you behind the eyes? No. Are you in the brain as a lump of tissue? No. No surgeon has ever found an I there. Are you a vibration here? A pulse there? No. The moment you try to localize, it slips out of your hand because the I is the hand that reaches. It cannot be grasped as an object. I am the witness of sensations, not another sensation. I am that to which thoughts report, not another thought among them. The kingdom of God is within you, not within a cavity or a chamber, but within consciousness, within that awareness which is neither north nor south, above nor below. Do you see the aim? Liberation, liberation from fear of decay, from the superstition that bone and blood can imprison life, from the weary burden of defending a little island called me. I am not urging neglect of the body. We shall speak plainly of its care. But I am saying, with moral seriousness, thou shalt have no other gods before me. To enthrone the body as self is to set up a graven image and then tremble before it. You are not its captive. You are its knower, its steward, its gentle caretaker. And let me set your expectation for this path. We will make these terms plain. Body as the visible instrument, soul as the psychological weather, spirit as the divine presence. Simple, clear, but take this deeper turn at the outset. The real I is none of these as an object. The I is the light in which instruments, lenses, and even holy language are recognized. It is not a place. It is presence aware. When we do not try to pin it down, we find ourselves already, unavoidably, in God. I and my Father are one. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. And as that dawns, the spell breaks, and with it the fear that made life small. Be still. Listen. The knower is here. Let us be plain now about this thing we call body. It is the visible instrument, flesh and bone and blood, nerves that carry sensation, organs that digest and cleanse, a brain that registers impressions, muscles that tire and recover. It is the realm of measurement, height, weight, pulse, temperature, blood pressure. It hungers and is fed. It labors and is fatigued. It cools and warms. It sleeps and wakes. We have this treasure in earthen vessels. Earthen, yes, subject to time and weather and use. Treasure yes, worthy of care, because it is a temple for the holy. Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost? Temple means it is kept. Temple does not mean it is God. Think of the automobile. It takes you where you are to go. You check the oil, you add fuel, you align the wheels, you replace the worn tire. You do not worship the automobile, and you do not despise it. You use it. A fine car can carry a foolish driver into a ditch. A modest car, well tended, can carry a wise driver home in safety. The driver is not the steel. The journey is not the upholstery. So with the body, adjust the seat of habit. Fuel it with what does it good. Bring it for service when something jars or squeaks. But remember, the one who drives is not confined to the engine. If the car slows, the traveler does not become less. If the car is traded for a newer model, the driver is not reborn. He continues, even so, I am not in the physical. I have a body, yes, but I am not its moving parts. Language itself gives the secret away. My hand, my heart, my brain. Possession implies a possessor. Who is this my that can point to a hand and say, mine, and then lay it down on the table and still be? Who is it that goes to sleep and while the body rests, dreams, travels across oceans and time, and then wakes to say, I dreamt? The owner is not the owned, the witness is not the witnessed. Dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return, and still life remains, for life is God. The body returns to its elements. The life that animated it is spirit. The I that knows is not an element among elements. Let us be honest about the limits of the instrument. It is not built for our pride's fantasies. It needs rest. It needs simple food and pure water. It needs cleanliness and a little sun and a little movement. And when it signals pain, it asks for attention. Do not make a miracle worker out of bone and bile. Do not ask the lungs to breathe underwater, or the skin to be cut and not bleed, or the stomach to digest resentment. It cannot. No, not a bit. And yet, do not fear the instrument for its limits. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Life is more. Life is spirit. The body is the coat we put on for this climate of earth. Here is where fear enters if we misidentify. If I believe I am in the body as in a box, I live at the mercy of the box. I live by its mirror and its scale, by its calendar and its thermometer, by its appetites and its slumps. I dread birthdays and lab results and winter winds. I defend and decorate and medicate a self I am not, and I call that living, and I am anxious, because my God is perishable. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Set up flesh as God, and you must burn incense to it all your days. Make it an idol, and you must fear its cracking. But return it to its rightful place, instrument, temple, vehicle, and the fear eases. You care for it because it serves. You do not enthrone it because it cannot rule. You let gentleness govern. Enough sleep, honest work, clean habits, gratitude. And then you say within, not as a boast, but as a freeing prayer, I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. Let the body be on the altar of service. Let spirit play its music through these strings, as long as strings there are. The body is for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. When the Lord is the Lord, the body takes its breath from peace. When the Lord is the Lord, appetite comes under law, and fatigue becomes a signal, not a tyrant, and healing, when needed, is not wrestled for but received. I do not despise the instrument. I do not worship it. I hold it lightly, I tend it faithfully, and I rest the care of it, finally, in the presence that formed it. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now we come to what people call soul, not spirit, not the divine presence, but that inner weave of story and mood, mind and temperament, memory and emotion, the personal history with its triumphs and embarrassments, the preferences and prejudices, the humor and the hurt, the private voice that narrates, applauds, condemns, and dreams. This is what the world commonly means by soul, and it is dear to us, for through it we have tasted sweetness and wept rivers, through it we have sung and feared and hoped. But hear this with gentleness. All of that is a field of experience. The I is the knower of that field. I am not in the physical, nor am I inside the psychological weather. I witness it. You have noticed its instability. Yesterday you were elated. This morning, for no great reason, you felt low. By afternoon, you forgot your sadness and work. At dusk, a melody awakened tenderness. By night, a stray word scratched open an old pain. Why art thou cast down, O my soul? And why art thou disquieted within me? Cries the psalmist. Because soul shifts. Opinions held like iron at 20 become ribbons at 40. Memory edits itself, polishes here, darkens there, and then swears to its own accuracy. People tell me I have always been this way, and next season they are otherwise. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Do not let that condemn you. Let it clarify you. The movement is not the mover. The weather is not the sky. Let us have our little test. Are you your anger? No. Anger rises, flashes, and spends itself, and there you remain to say, I was angry. Are you your sorrow? No. Sorrow lays like a mist, and then thins. You feel the wet on your cheek, and you know it was passing. Are you your childhood story, the old wound rehearsed as identity? No. You can watch it replay, you can pause it, you can forgive it 70 times 7, and still something untouched looks on. Are you your applause? No. It rings sweet and is gone, and if you clutch it, it turns to fear of losing it. Are you your opinions, your creed, your culture? No. You hold them, trade them, outgrow them, return to them. Through it all, the I that knows never becomes an opinion. The moment you locate yourself in any of these, you have enthroned a shifting thing as yourself, and then must wobble when it wobbles. Now here is the gentle warning. When the soul is mistaken for identity, we defend it as if life depended on it. We compare its narratives with our neighbors and either exalt or despise ourselves. We take its injuries as mortal wounds, and so we bruise quickly and forgive slowly. We begin to make gods of our moods, consulting them as oracles, obeying them as kings. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. To set up temperament as a god is to be ruled by weather. To enthrone memory is to be governed by yesterday. To worship personality is to fear every mirror. Let not your heart be troubled. Troubled it may be, like stirred water, but do not take trouble as your identity. Be still long enough to see that the mud settles of itself when it is not poked. Think of the soul as a lens. When smudged with resentment, everything appears dim and hostile. When cleaned by forgiveness, the same world looks possible. The lens is not the light. The still pool reflects the moon. When agitated, it breaks the moon to pieces. But the moon was never broken. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Hear how Scripture directs the care of the interior, not by idolizing mood, but by yielding the lens to purity. The cleaning is not accomplished by straining at sunshine. It is the gift that comes when the hand releases its grip on being right, being seen, being special. As with the body, we said, so with the soul. I do not despise it, and I do not worship it. I hold it lightly, I tend it honestly, and I offer it up to that presence which alone is constant. In this, freedom begins. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore I need not police my weather nor sell my peace to the next gust. I abide as witness to its changes, and the witness is not bruised by clouds. Be still, and know that I am God. In that stillness you discover the I that does not come and go. Then the soul finds its proper service as a clear lens, a softened temperament, a memory redeemed by mercy through which God may look with love upon this world. And quietly from the heart that no longer fights for a name, the prayer arises without effort. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. God is the actor, I am merely the instrument. Spirit now, not soul's weather, not the instrument's signals, but the God source of life. God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. When I speak of spirit, I am not speaking of a high feeling, not a glow, not a tremor in the nerves. No, no. Spirit is the presence that is before feeling and after feeling. It is the life that animates feeling without being a feeling. It is the I am that spoke to Moses from the bush that burned and was not consumed. It is the Father of whom the Master said, I and my Father are one. And again, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. If the soul is a lens and the body an instrument, spirit is the light and the music source, not symptom. We have misunderstood this because we have confused a breeze with the sky. We hold a revival, we sing until the room trembles, we surge with enthusiasm, and we say, ah, the Spirit is here. But buoyancy is not spirit, excitement is not spirit, mood is weather. Spirit is the firmament in which weather happens. Spirit may come upon you in a crowded hymn, yes, but it may also find you in the hospital corridor when the last tear is wrung out and there is nothing left to say. And how do you know it then? You know it by quiet authority, by a peace that does not explain itself, by a certainty without strain, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The signal of spirit is not a shout, but an ease, not a struggle, but an is, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Do not make a travel story of that. Do not picture yourself leaving here and going there as if spirit were a street address. It is an orientation of consciousness. To be absent from the body is to be absent from the belief that I am inside of it. To be present with the Lord is to be awake to the presence that is not inside of anything. I am not in the physical. I am not in the psychological weather. I am in God, and God is the life in which body and soul appear. When consciousness releases its clutch on sensation and mood, when it ceases to enthrone them, presence stands unobstructed as what always is. Be still and know that I am God. Be still from manufacturing and know from receiving. You cannot whip spirit into appearance. You cannot bargain it forth with fasting and noise. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? By taking thought, you cannot add 1 heartbeat of spirit to your day. Spirit is not usable. Spirit uses. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. This is why we practice receptivity. Not to catch a thrill, but to get out of the way. When the personal will subsides, when the old self-rescue schemes fall quiet, a different movement announces itself not in fireworks, but in the simple fact that fear loosens, that the next right word arrives unpushed, that love becomes reasonable. My sheep hear my voice. The voice is not in syllables, it is in rightness that needs no debate. What then is spirit in your day? It is the life that breathes you, whether you remember to be holy or forget. It is the wisdom that steps forward when you have exhausted your cleverness. It is the love that refuses to let your neighbor be your competitor. It is the law that holds the stars and holds you by the same integrity. Think of electricity. The bulb glows, the wire hums, The motor turns, but the electricity is not the glow, not the hum, not the turn. It is the invisible principle made evident by function. If the bulb flares or dims, electricity is not improved or insulted. So with spirit, high feeling does not exalt it. Low feeling does not diminish it. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. The constancy is God's. Our part is removal of interference. How do we consent to that constancy? Gently, not by straining at God, but by allowing God. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Ask without bargaining. Seek without drama. Knock without pounding the door. Sit in the humble admission that personal effort cannot climb to spirit. And then notice that spirit is not up, spirit is here. Something in you recognizes it instantly, the way a child recognizes home without a map. There is the quiet click, the invisible yes, and, not as a mood, but as a foundation that in my conscious oneness with God, I find sufficiency. Then spontaneously, the old prayer rises, not as a technique, but as truth acknowledged. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Be this in me, Father. Live thou thy life. I am absent from the idols of body and soul. I am present with thee. Where thy spirit is, there is liberty, and in that liberty we rest. Now comes the necessary twist. We have spoken of body as instrument, soul as lens, spirit as source. These are useful words. They sort the furniture of experience. But hear me, the real I is not a piece of that furniture. The real I is the knower in whose light these categories become visible. When I say I, where will you place it? Will you tuck it into an organ? No. Will you assign it to a mood? No. Will you dress it in a spiritual robe and call it holy? No. No. Not body, not mind, not even a spiritual costume. I am not in the physical. Absent from the body, present with the Lord is not travel talk. It is the confession that the I, which knows, is not an object among objects. Let us be very plain, because the ego loves refinement. There is a subtle trap that greets sincere seekers. The polished boast, I am spirit. Spoken rightly, it can be a pointer. Spoken from the old center, it is only a better outfit on the same actor. Then you hear my realization, my consciousness, my healing power, and without noticing it, the infinite has been reduced to a personal possession. That is idolatry in silk garments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When I make a god out of my realization, I have enthroned a private idol and secured my own future humiliation, because no private possession can bear the weight of God. No man can serve two masters. Either the Father is the all, or the little claimant must try to be all, and that way lies strain, fear, competition, and the shadow of loss. What then is this I, if not even spirit as a thing? I is the point of awareness where God is recognized. I is the transparency, not the content, the window, not the light, the listening, not the voice. Spirit is the light, God is the voice. The I is the openness in which the voice is heard and the light is seen. In him we live and move and have our being. Do you catch it? Not God in me as a cabinet full of virtues. Not me as a private spark needing to be fanned. No, I live in God as awareness lives in light. The Master said, I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And with that the claimant dissolves. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, not my private stash of spirit, but my surrender into spirit's allness. Consider the simple law of seeing. The eye cannot see itself as an object. It sees by being what it is. So with awareness, try to turn around and look at eye, and you find no shape, no edge, no color. You find capacity. You find openness. You find the ungraspable knower by which all grasping is known. If you make an image there, you have left the real and returned to an idol. If you christen that image spirit, you have only traded clay for porcelain and bowed to the same error. The light that enables the seeing is not captured by the picture seen. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. The mind cannot put the eye of awareness in a box. It can only fall silent and consent to be it. Do you see the mercy in this? If the eye is not an object, it cannot be injured as objects are. If it is not a mood, it does not sway with weather. If it is not even a spiritual commodity, it cannot be hoarded or lost. Then peace is not a trophy to clutch, but the nature of awareness when no idol is set before it. Be still and know that I am God. Be still from being something, even something spiritual, and know. In that knowing, the old claimant fades, and the click comes not as an attainment, but as the absence of interference. Then the only prayer left is consent. Live thou thy life. Take these hands as instrument, this mind as lens. Be thyself the seeing, the speaking, the doing. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. This is the paradox that frees us from boasting and from despair at once. I am not a body to polish, not a soul drama to narrate, not even a spirit thing to display. I am the transparency of God's own self-knowing. If that sounds too high, let it be very simple. Do not touch identity with your fingers. Do not label it. Do not own it. Yield it. As the label falls away, love ceases to be a project and becomes a presence. And in that presence, the commandments are not burdensome, but natural. One God alone, and therefore love thy neighbor as thyself, for there is no private self left to protect. In this unburdened eye, we stand where the Father stands, and we say without assertion, only as truth discovered, I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. And so we rest, absent from every idol, present with the Lord. Let us go a step deeper. When I say I, how are you going to localize that? Now, where am I? Here behind the eyes? No. In the chest? No. The moment you try to pin me to a point, it slips away because the eye that knows is not a dot on a map. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. They have opened brains and cataloged tissue, weighed organs and measured currents, but the knower of these facts has never been laid on a tray. The eye is not an object. The eye is the knowing. I ask you to take the simple demonstration. Close your eyes, if you will. In this posture, I am virtually unaware of having a body as a locality, yet sensation remains. There is a tingling in the hands, a pressure where the chair meets the thighs, a movement of breath rising and falling, sounds past the hum of a light, a faint traffic, a bird. Thoughts come and go, the errand, the memory, the line of a hymn, and yet notice, the knower has not moved an inch. Sensation changes, thought drifts, but the one to whom all changes report does not come and go. Where is that knower? Point to it. You cannot. And still, everything here is known. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Awareness illumines the field. The field does not contain the light. Do not let the word non-local frighten you. Non-local does not mean not real. It means not measurable like matter is measurable. You cannot weigh love on a scale, yet love moves nations and reconciles enemies. You cannot pour intelligence into a beaker, yet designs rise and bridges stand. You cannot cut open a violin to find music, Yet music is the very reason the wood was carved. So with the eye, it cannot be sliced, gauged, or caged. And still, it is the very capacity by which slicing, gauging, and caging are known. In him we live and move and have our being. Not in inches and ounces do we have our identity, but in that life wherein inches and ounces appear and are reported. Here is the bridge to safety. If my identity is not a location in matter, then my peace is not held hostage by any one fragile point. If the hand is cut, the eye is not cut. It witnesses and tends. If the brain is weary, the eye is not weary. It knows weariness as a passing weather. If the address changes, if the job shifts, if the photograph grows old, the eye is not displaced. It remains the knowing that says, I have moved, I have labored, I have aged, while itself is not aged by the report. Then fear loosens its fingers. What can rob me if I am not a vault of flesh? What can imprison me if I am not a prisoner of place? Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Absent from the superstition of locality, present with a presence that is everywhere whole. This is why the Master could say, I and my Father are one, and stand serene in storm and crowd, because the center of being was not a spot in Galilee, but the infinite life itself. And this is why we practice stillness, not to conjure a special mood, but to notice the obvious, that in quiet, here and now, before thought names and after thought departs, awareness remains, unlocated and untroubled. The moment you stop trying to tag it with an address, the click comes the invisible, yes, that needs no argument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot be a private point. The God that is all does not squeeze himself into a corner called me. He reveals himself as the very light of knowing. Keep it as simple as breath. When fear says, what if this place fails me? What if this body betrays me? Answer gently, I am not in the physical. I am not in the psychological weather. I am present with the Lord. The knower cannot be cut open or measured. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. And as the heart consents to that truth, not with strain but with surrender, the old clutching eases, and the prayer that has always been true speaks itself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Be thou my place, my safety, my life. In that wordless non-local, yes, you discover you were never lost. Let us set the plumb line now, because without law we drift into private fancies and call them freedom. There is a cosmic law, impersonal, exact, beneficent. It is not a mood. It is not moved by our pleading. It cannot be bribed or bypassed any more than you can bribe arithmetic. 2 times 2 is 4, not 3.5 if you feel inspired. 4. You violate that and you do not incur the anger of mathematics. You reap the consequence inherent in the violation. It is the same with a traffic light. Run the red, and you do not provoke the fury of a God posted at the corner. You intersect with moving forces, and the result is predictable. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This is not condemnation. This is law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Hear that not as a tribal boast, but as the cornerstone of reality. One source, one life, one act. The moment you appoint another absolute body, money, opinion, fear, you have stepped out of alignment with the only authority there is, and the law exposes it. Not a policeman God chasing you, the principle itself revealing the disorder. Make body a god, and disease becomes fate. You will wake and sleep under the empire of the mirror and the scale, You will eat with dread and exercise with bargaining. You will study symptoms as if they were oracles, and every twinge will be a sermon of doom. Make the soul's weather a god, moods, memories, temperaments, and you will be ruled by yesterday and forecast tomorrow's storms with trembling. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. If the treasure is perishable, the heart must live in fear. Make ego a god, and reputation becomes a prison. Flattery will be bread, criticism a sword. You will not speak truth because you must manage image. You will not love your neighbor because you must keep your advantage. You will pray not to surrender, but to secure. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Not a bit. Try it and discover the double strain the law is double-edged. Use it to exalt a private self, and it will cut the user. Use it to take what belongs to another, and it will take your peace. Don't ever tamper with a cosmic law, because it is a double-edged sword. There can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. You violate the integrity of love, and you have brought the wrath not of a temper but of principle upon you, as surely as an engineer who scorns the foundation invites the collapse of the bridge he boasts of. Do you see why our earlier distinctions were made? Body as instrument, soul as lens, spirit as source, useful, ordered, lawful. The disorder begins when an instrument is enthroned as Lord, or when a lens is worshipped as light. Then inevitably life tilts. When wealth is God, markets become storms, and you read them as scripture. You hoard in fat years and hunger in full barns, because fear sits on the throne. When fear is God, even kindness is calculated, and the neighbor becomes a rival. Perfect love casteth out fear, not by argument, but by the simple obedience to the first commandment: one God, no rivals. The law is merciful, because it is exact. It will not let us make peace with idols without showing us the bill. Let this land not as a scold, but as deliverance. You are not being punished. You are being informed. If the red light catches you, you stop next time, and the intersection ceases to be dangerous. So here, when you discover you have bowed to body, to ego, to reputation, to gold, stop, withdraw authority, return it to God. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not seized. Given, not grabbed. The sign that the law is honored is ethical fruit, not spiritual vanity. By their fruits ye shall know them. If what you call understanding does not make you truer, fairer, gentler, if it does not loosen the fist and reconcile you to your brother, it is a costume, not a realization. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. That is not a sentimental afterthought. It is the inevitable outcome of having only one God, because without a second self to compete with, love is the only sane relation. So we take our stand where safety always was. One God, one actor. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot afford a private altar to flesh or fame. I do not ask the law to favor me. I consent to be governed by it. I put down the false authorities one by one, mirror, ledger, headline, applause, and I whisper the old surrender that has never failed the humble. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Father, take the throne. Dethrone these little claimants. Create in me a clean heart. Align my conduct with thy love. Absent from the body as God, absent from the soul as Lord, present with the Lord as law and life, I rest. In resting, I find that peace was never under their authority. It was always under thine. Because law is exact, we must set a guard at the door of practice. This understanding is not given for control, projection, or manipulation. Not to bend another will, not to fetch a contract, a verdict, a mate, or a cure by mental leverage. No, no, don't ever tamper with a cosmic law. It is a double-edged sword. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. If you harness truth to a private chariot, that chariot turns and drags you by your own reins, first into pride, then into anxiety, and at last into collapse. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Let me be as plain as I know how to be. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts. I do not project thoughts. I hope you will never try to do it. I never give human advice. When someone says, which job shall I take? Which doctor is mine? Which move will secure my future? I have only one faithful answer. Be still and know. I can sit in silence with you until the click comes. I can join you in releasing fear and ambition, but I cannot and I will not steer your ship. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. When I forget this and try to act, I move outside my office and under a law I cannot manage. What then is true help? Not interference, not diagnosis, not the parade of opinions. Help is the silent recognition of the presence of God exactly where the need appears, without pushing, without picturing, without demanding an outcome. I stand within, desireless, and behold, the Lord is there. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I release the person from my fear, from my story about them, from my will for them. I do not hold them as sick, guilty, or needing my power. I behold them in God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty means I cannot bind them with my concern, and I cannot solve them with my mind. I can only consent to the allness that dissolves appearances in its own way and timing. Do you see why this is safety? The moment you try to use truth to gain advantage over markets, over competitors, over neighbors, you have enthroned a second God, personal will. Then sleep flees you, because what you seize you must guard. What you manipulate you must continuously manage. He that taketh a sword shall perish with the sword. Use a spiritual principle to wound, and the wound is yours. Use it to take, and peace is taken from you. It is not punishment, it is mathematics. Cross the wires of electricity, and the motor burns. Put fingers in the socket to warm your hands, and you are shocked. Electricity is not angry, it is exact. So with spirit. It blesses as it is welcomed. It sears where it is forced into private ends. You will hear tales, some have come to me, of a presence at a bedside, a peace that entered the room in the night, and relief came. Believe me, I did not project myself. Often I was asleep. The presence was already there. If this instrument played at all, it played by absence, by not intruding, by not claiming, by not advising, so that the already present love could be noticed. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still does not mean inertness. It means non-interference. It means judge not, resist not evil, leave vengeance to God. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Do not dress revenge in prayer. Do not baptize ambition with holy words. Put the sword down. Put the scheme down. Put the visualization for gain down. Let the Father within do his own works. If you ask, may I not pray for a better outcome? Ask again, who prays? If it is the little one calculating safety, it is better to say only, thy will be done. If it is the surrendered heart, it prays by beholding, not by bargaining. It rests in the fact God is here, God is all, God is the law and the life and the love of this very scene. And in that resting, the click comes, not because we forced it, but because interference ceased. Hold to the one posture that cannot harm. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, there is nothing to control and no one to conquer. There is only blessing to consent to, only love to recognize, only law to obey. And as such obedience ripens, the old compulsion to manage fades, and a simple prayer rises of itself, clean and unpossessive. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Live thou thy life in me. Govern thy universe without my meddling. In that holy non-interference peace abides, and the fruits appear unmanipulated, unboasted, unmistakably his. Let us make it very simple, very human, very safe. Take a chair that allows your feet to touch the floor without dangling. Sit so the spine is upright but unforced, as if you were dignified and at ease at the same time. Let the hands rest loosely in the lap, not gripping, not folded in a project just there. Do not cross the legs. Allow the shoulders to drop as if laying down a bundle. Close the eyes. Breathe as the breath wishes. Do not measure. Do not improve. There is no occult reason for any of this, only one of physical comfort. We are not conjuring. We are consenting. Be still and know that I am God. Now, with the eyes closed, remove the body from thought. That does not mean hating it or warring with it. No. It means allowing the simple sensations to be exactly as they are without commentary. A tingle in the hands, a warmth in the knees, the breath rising, falling, a pulse at the temple. Do you see? Nothing to fix, nothing to spiritualize. The body is an instrument reporting, and you, the knower, are not in it. If an itch calls, let it call without becoming a problem. If a swallow happens, let it happen. Take no thought for your life, not as neglect, but as trust. You do not hold the heart to keep it beating. You do not hold the lungs to keep them filling. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. You are merely the instrument content to be held. Thoughts will walk through as if they own the street. Let them, the errand, the face, the old conversation, the docket of cares. See if you can meet them like passing rain on a window, noticed, not entered. You are not to push them out, for pushing is more thought. You are not to decorate them, for that is still ownership. You are to refrain from making a problem. The kingdom of God is within you. Within does not mean inside the ribcage, it means here, before and after thoughts, the open awareness, not contained by them. If a line of prayer wants to rise, let it be very simple and unpossessive. Thy will be done. Now rest as willingness. This is the heart of practice. We do not beg God. We do not bargain with God. We do not picture outcomes. We do not chant for dollars. We do not assign roles to our neighbors in an inner theater. Desireless does not mean lifeless. It means we have laid down the private agenda that obscures the presence. Sit as if on the shore, not trying to make a tide, only recognizing that the sea lives by its own law. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Let the little claimant empty out. If fear peeks in, nod at it and say gently, I am not in the physical. I am present with the Lord. If pride peeks in to take credit, answer, my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. There is no private owner here. At a certain point that cannot be timed, there comes the click. Not a bell, not a trance, not even always a feeling, often a simple ease, an unforced hush, an assurance that needs no argument. It is as if a hand you did not raise has opened, and in that opening, the strain that was invisible a moment before is suddenly absent. The questions sit down. The air is the same, but breathable. My sheep hear my voice, and the voice is not syllables. It is rightness, presence, enoughness. You may notice a line of truth presenting itself as fact, not as wish. God is here. Or, all is well. Or, simply, yes. Do not clutch at it. Do not analyze it. Let it be as common as light at dawn. Remain a moment in that yes. If it lasts 3 breaths, 3 minutes, or 30, there is no prize. When it recedes, do not chase it. Chasing is strain. We are learning that receptivity, not effort, opens consciousness to the presence. Return to the simple word you can always afford, the password of surrender. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Whisper it as you rise. Carry it into dishes, into traffic, into the next hard conversation. The posture remains the same, though the eyes are open. No problem made of the body, no theater of the mind, only willingness for God to be God. Stand still inwardly and see the salvation of the Lord, not manufactured, not delayed, present, and in that presence, quietly, the fruits arrange themselves without your management, unmistakably His. What, then, does the click do to Monday morning? What becomes of it on the bus, in the office, at the table? If it remains a private glow, we have missed it. Union with God is never private. It cannot be, for God is not a private possession. By their fruits ye shall know them. The inward yes must arrange itself as outward honesty, patience, quiet, willingness to serve. It loosens the tongue from boasting and binds the hands to fairness. It pauses where once it pushed. It listens where once it lectured. It forgives where once it kept accounts. No trophies, no halos conduct. Begin with a simple anchor that carries us out of the room and into the street. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Do you hear what follows? If I am one with God, I am one with God's offspring. Then I cannot set a price to injure. I cannot take an advantage to starve my brother's hope. I cannot sign what I know is crooked and call it clever. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. Let your yea be yea. You will find that in this oneness, truthfulness costs less than pretense, because the strain of maintaining the mask is lifted. The bill for deception is always interest-bearing. In oneness, the account is settled before it starts. This same oneness dissolves rivalry. When I want nothing you have and you want nothing I have, hostility dissolves. Cooperation becomes natural. That is not passivity. It is sanity. Thou shalt not covet. Why should I covet when the source is one and infinite? If the Father's table is full, I do not need your slice. I need the Father. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not fought for. In such knowing, we share tools, we share credit, we share opportunity, because supply is not a pile to defend, it is a flow to consent to. And the flow, like a river, carves its channels where there is least resistance. Non-competition is not a tactic. It is the fruit of knowing there is only one giver. Carry it into relationships and you will find your tongue changing its office. Listen more than fix. Bless rather than advise. Allow the Father within to be the doer. How quickly we have spoken when a brother's grief is unveiled, our recipes, our maps, our oughts. No, be swift to hear, slow to speak. Sit down inwardly, and behold, God is here. The Father that dwelleth in me, He doeth the works. If a word rises, let it be washed in that presence before it crosses the lip. Often it will be silence. Often it will be a simple, I am with you. Often it will be prayer without speech. Father, glorify thyself here. Comfort one another with these words, not with blueprints, but with the fact of God in the marketplace. Oneness unties the knot of promotion and credit. You will do the task thoroughly as unto the Lord, without bargaining for applause, and you will sleep. Promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. If the praise comes, you pass it on. If it does not, you do not wither, because the actor is one, and the instrument is content to play. You do not steal time. You do not pad the hour. You do not burn the candle of your neighbor's trust for a private midnight. Fairness is rest. Integrity is oxygen. You will be astonished how problems that once demanded strategies are met by a quiet, unhurried rightness that has no argument in it. Let the small scenes preach the sermon. In the line at the shop, you let another go first because their need is louder today and your heart is not made smaller by the gift. At the table, you make room for the voice that trembles and would be trampled by haste. In traffic, you drop the contest of inches and discover that arriving without war is arrival indeed. If an enemy appears, a soft answer turns away wrath, not because you fear them, but because you do not fear lack. If any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also, not as a stunt, but as freedom from the god of possession. You choose to be wronged rather than enthrone resentment, and in that choice, the chain breaks at your wrist. Do not think this is heroism. It is law obeyed through love. It is the interior consent made visible. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot compete with what I am one with. I can only cooperate. I cannot take from what I live in. I can only receive and share. And when the old impulse to manage and to seize rattles its chains, answer it not with argument, but with surrender. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Live thou thy life in me as patience, as honesty, as service. Let the click become conduct, the hush become fairness, the prayer become bread broken and given. Then the private glow is transfigured into a public light, and men see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Let us read the diagram once more, simply, so simply that a child could trace it with a finger. The body is the instrument, wood and string, keys and breath, a visible tool for function in a visible world. The soul is the lens, the interpreting mind, the weather of thought and emotion through which the scene is colored. Spirit is the source, the life that is God. Not a mood, not a surge, not a high, but the fountain of being itself. Confusion begins the moment we trade their offices, when an instrument is treated as a lord, when a lens is worshipped as light, when the source is treated as a private possession. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. One God, and then everything else finds its place without strain. Now see the liberation in this clarity. If body is instrument, it can be cared for without fear and without idolatry. You feed it, you rest it, you wash it, you mend it if it tears. Take no thought for your life. What ye shall eat or what ye shall drink does not mean neglect. It means refusing to enthrone survival as a god. Attend to the instrument because it serves the music. Do not worship it because it is not the music. If a string breaks, you change a string. You do not conclude the symphony is over. If a doctor is needed, you go. If food is needed, you eat. But you do it as steward, not as slave. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. You are merely the instrument. If soul is lens, it can be educated without being adored. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Polish the lens with study, with honesty, with gratitude. Remove the smudge of resentment, the dust of fear, the crack of superstition. But remember, a lens is not authority. It is an aid to seeing. Your mood is not a law. Your memory is not a prophecy. Your personality is not yourself. When the lens is cloudy, you do not condemn the world. You clean the lens. When the lens is vivid and bright, you do not boast of sunlight. You are grateful that sight is clear. No worship of weather. The soul reports, it does not rule. If spirit is source, it can be trusted without being owned, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. You do not summon God. You do not aim God. You do not strap God to a project. You consent, I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. The more you surrender ownership, the more supply proves itself as grace and not as grind. The more you release outcomes, the more outcomes appear as fruit on a living branch, not as trophies fetched from a battlefield. The source is not your servant. You are its instrument. Take this as a working checklist for the hour trouble knocks. Ask quietly, am I treating the body as cause? If pain appears, have I enthroned it as authority over peace? Return the body to its office instrument and let care be sensible and calm. Ask, am I treating the soul as authority? If gloom colors the room, have I believed the color is the truth? Return the lens to its office. Clean it with forgiveness, with gratitude, with truth. Ask, have I forgotten the source? If I am managing, pushing, bargaining, have I slipped into two gods, spirit and self-will? Lay down the reins and say only thy will be done. Again and again. This simple inventory brings the center back to God and the edges back to service. Then let the paradox stand in the light where it cannot frighten you. You have a body and you are not in it. You have a soul, mind, memory, mood, and you are not bound by its weather. You move by spirit, but spirit is not a mood you make. The real I is not body, not soul, not even spirit as an object. The real I is the awareness through which body, soul, and spirit are recognized. The non-local knower that awakens to oneness with God, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Present where? Here, where the source is all, and the instrument and lens serve, without pretending to be the light. Keep the order and you keep your freedom. Body is tool, soul is lens, spirit is source. Without making any of them me, my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, the instrument is safe in stewardship. The lens is safe in humility. The source is trusted in sovereignty. And as that order settles, a simple prayer seals it without strain. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Govern the tool, clarify the lens, reveal thyself as the only life. I am not in the physical. I am not in the psychological weather. I am present with the Lord. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. In that right placing, peace returns. And with peace, the fruits unforced, unhurried, unmistakably thine. Now let us place one word at the center where all the strands meet, not as a decoration, not as a charm, but as the surrender by which the whole house rests. We have seen body as instrument, soul as lens, spirit as source. We have seen that the real I is not inside the instrument, not trapped in the lens, not a mood calling itself spirit, but the non-local knower awakened to God. And now we let go of every last pressure to perform, to fix, to prove. We release the burden of being the doer. Not my will, but thine be done. This is the movement from understanding to rest. Say it softly where no one can hear but God. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let it drop beneath thought as a seed drops into good soil and does not argue its growth. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Again, without strain, like breathing in sleep. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. With each saying, loosen the hand that grips identity by roles and stories. Loosen the nameplate on the door. Loosen the photographs that insist this is what I am. No, who do men say that I am? Let even those answers dissolve until only the answer of God remains. I am that I am. Understand me well. I am that I am is not the cry of the little self becoming grand. It is the silence of the real I, witnessing that life lives itself. It is the humility of the branch confessing the vine. It is the instrument consenting to be played. It is the cessation of self-definition and self-defense, because I and my Father are one. In that oneness, the question of enoughness has no stage upon which to perform. In that oneness, sufficiency is not fetched, it is realized. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Now give up outcomes as well. Give them up kindly, the way a child opens a hand because the Father is trustworthy. Lay down the calendar of when, the diagram of how, the theater of who must do what. Give up the bargain and keep the promise. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, not my cleverness, not my bank, not my charm, not even my fervor. Grace, God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. And in that holy placement, a quiet strength enters, because the yoke is no longer yours. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Let this be your password at the door of every hour. In the night when the mind wants to rehearse trouble, answer with it, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In the day when praise lights on you like a moth to a candle, pass it through this same word so it cannot burn you. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When fear says, prove yourself, do something, be impressive, say gently, I am not in the physical, I am present with the Lord. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. I am that I am, not by history, not by effort, but by the life that is God. Return to silence daily. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Sit in the simple posture. Remove the body from thought. Let the lens be clear, and wait. Do not hunt for light. Be still until light reveals itself. Let conduct prove what has been realized. By their fruits ye shall know them. Let gentleness be the fruit. Let fairness be the fruit. Let the ease of non-competition be the fruit. In your house, at your work, in the quiet street, let love break itself like bread without advertisement. That is gratitude in motion. And now, one more time, not as many words, but as one word surrendered. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Live thou thy life in me. Govern thy universe without my meddling. I and my Father are one, and in that oneness there is no fear, no lack, no rival. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, present here. I thank thee, I rest. I am that I am. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, keeps the heart and mind now and always